Hi, welcome back to a new video. It's another book review. It's been a little while. I did a travel vlog and scrapbooking time-lapse type videos. This time I am going to review The Whisperer in Darkness by H.P. Lovecraft, which is a series of short stories. I don't have the actual book with me. I've lent it to my dad. I don't think he's ready yet. This took me the better part of a month to read them. There's quite a few within it. Before I go into the actual book review, I also played a game on the PlayStation 5 called Call of Cthulhu, which is one of the stories by H.P. Lovecraft. I'd recommend the game. It wasn't like a super long one or anything like that. It gave kind of like Resident Evil vibes a little bit. I enjoyed it. It was quite good. It's like you're a detective. It's quite dark, gothic kind of vibe. I played that before I read the book actually. I was well aware of H.P. Lovecraft and that kind of genre. I've read a lot of H.G. Wells and I do quite enjoy sci-fi. This is very much like horror sci-fi, and the theme is kind of like mystery and supernatural as well. So you have to kind of suspend your belief, is that the word? Yeah. As much as it is like sci-fi and kind of horror, it's also quite depressing. Well, that is part of the appeal, I think. Yeah, this collection was called The Whisperer in Darkness. I got it from Waterstones. It was only £5, £4.99, which I thought was really good, considering it includes the Dunwich Horror, which was one of the main ones that I really wanted to read. And if you buy the Dunwich Horror separately as its own book, it's like £13, £12.99 was the cheapest I could find it in Waterstones, and it was included within this book. So good collection. I like I'll put a picture of it up here now because I really like the front cover of it as well. It kind of gives the right vibes of the book. If I was to put this book into 3 words: unsettling, retrofuturism, and outlandish. Oh, what was retrofuturism now? I think it's where it mixes like a lot of ancient things with things that are very futuristic as well. So it's like that juxtaposition between old and future, if that makes sense. And I think that's done really well. There's not many things that I've read where that is the case. You might have like some kind of nod to futuristic, or if something's dystopian, but this is very much that retrofuturism, which to be honest I don't think I've read anything else that has that, because it was very different from anything else that I've read, which I enjoyed. My favourite stories from the book were The Hound, which had similar vibes to The Hound of the Baskervilles, almost kind of like Dracula as well, Dracula-esque, and the Dunwich Horror, which I mentioned, that was one of the main reasons for buying the book. So there was quite a melancholy air to the stories and like an underlying unsettling or kind of sinister vibe. You didn't really know which way it was going to go, or even what was going to come out of the woodwork, essentially, because you know, it could be anything. With it being sci-fi and horror, it kept you kind of in suspense. Yeah, and I mentioned here, it mixes ancient with futuristic, which is very unique. Inspiration from kind of H.G. Wells and Edgar Allan Poe especially. I like reading Edgar Allan Poe as well for that kind of dark, dingy atmosphere in books, kind of gothic as well. Like I say, it's very much the appeal of going to read something like this. The stories were atmospheric, at times difficult to follow or kind of fully imagine. You have to be kind of open-minded to what it is. There is a lot of detail in terms of the description of things because it's kind of out of the norm, or you're kind of reading about it. It's not just like they're in front of you. Say if it's like, if you had to think of like a hybrid creature, for example, hybrid animal, it's hard to specify what those features look like, for example. Whereas if you're watching a film, a horror film, it's there so you can see it, which in a lot of ways I like from a book because it's your own interpretation of that. but sometimes it can be difficult to even picture it or, you know, understand how scary that would actually be if you were to view it in person, for example. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Done a little drawing of the cover, but I'll tell you what I rated it first. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Well, not all of them I think were as captivating as like The Hound and the Dunwich Horror, which I enjoyed the most. That's my little drawing of the front cover. And yeah, it was good to read. When I was reading the book, I could imagine parts of the game Call of Cthulhu as I was reading the stories. I think a lot of the places and things like that they write about are within the game. And one of the main things about kind of H.P. Lovecraft and that whole world, like it is a whole world that he's kind of created, even to the point where he's thought of artists and specific paintings that they've created within his books that he references. And one of my favourite things that's kind of mentioned within the books is the necronomicon, which is bound in human skin, if I remember rightly. And it's like by this crazy, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like been written by this crazy person and everything, and references that throughout a lot of the stories. So it's like a world, and it's very interesting, and he's obviously very clever. There was also a film that I watched recently. I think there's been a few that I've watched at some point or other that have been inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Even just, you know, Call of Cthulhu, The Whisperer in Darkness, the Dunwich Horror. I don't think I've seen the Dunwich Horror yet. I need to watch that. They have adaptations. A lot of them are on Amazon Prime. But one film that I watched recently was called Incident in a Ghostland. One of the main characters is a writer and takes a lot of influence from H.P. Lovecraft. I don't think it was like my favourite film, but I liked that aspect of it, and that was kind of brought into it. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me for another book review. But I'll no doubt see you again soon for another one. The weather's quite nice, it's brightening up a bit now, so I'm hoping to get out in the garden to read, and I'll be out there with Pip no doubt when it's good weather. But yeah, hope you're all doing well. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.